各位中午好。
Good afternoon, everyone.
非常荣幸有机会在这里和各位分享一点我的学习心得。
I'm really honored to be able to share my research with you today.
这里我要感谢林教授的邀请，
I need to thank Professor Lam's invitation.
感谢陈浩教授和基央修为此付出的努力，
I'm going to thank the other people at the Confucius Institute.
还要感谢我的朋友魏美玲博士，
And thank you to Emily for translating.
也感谢大家冒着这么大的雪来听我的报告。
And thanks to all of you for coming in the snowy day to come hear my talk.
我想简单的介绍一下中国大陆改革开放以来的30年间戏曲创作的状况。
So today I'll be describing the last 30 years of Chinese theater productions during the Reform era.
可能许多关心中国文化发展的朋友对文化大革命时期的样板戏并不陌生。
So many people familiar with Chinese culture may know of the model operas from the Cultural Revolution era.
但是在这之后，中国的戏曲创作发生了什么？出现了哪一些有影响的剧目？
But after that, what happened in Chinese theater and what works were created?
这是我今天要介绍的重点。
That's what I'll be focusing on today.
那么，中国改革开放以来的30年，应该说戏曲的创作数量是不小的，质量也不低。
So in the 30 years since the beginning of the Reform era, there's been a very large number of productions, and the quality has also been high.
各个剧种、各个剧团和剧作家们各显身手。
So every theater troupe, theater playwrights and creators, as well as the performers.
名作家、名导演和名演员应该说不断的涌现。
And so there's a continuous production of famous theater artists.
比起文革的10年来说可以说是天翻地覆。
And one can say that it's been a huge explosion in comparison to the Cultural Revolution era.
比如最古老的剧种之一梨园戏，
So for example, one of the oldest forms of Chinese opera theater, Li Yuan,
就出现了著名的剧作家王仁杰和著名的演员曾静平。
has appeared famous playwrights and famous directors.
他们的代表作《董生与李氏》
And so this is one of their famous works.
用最传统的形式表达了最现代的思想，非常成功。
It was very successful at using one of the oldest forms of theater to express some of the most modern ideas.
还比如最有乡土气的剧种之一淮剧，
And also one of the most rural types of opera forms, Huai opera.
出现了像《金龙与浮游》这样深刻的反思专制体制恶果的作品。
And so we have appeared these types of works that are full of reflection on the era of autocracy and government.
并孕育了像罗怀珍这样的剧作家。
And also have fostered really important playwrights such as Luo Huaizhen.
以表现力著称的川剧，出现了徐芬和魏明伦这样的优秀的剧作家。
And so the extremely expressive theater form of Sichuan opera has also produced important new works and playwrights.
徐芬是川剧历史上第一个女性的剧作家。
And this woman here is Xu Fen, is one of the first female playwrights in this genre.
那么其他的剧种，像出现了很多这个剧作家，还有比如陈亚仙。
There's also been a lot of playwrights in other opera forms, for example, Chen Yaxian.
郭启宏，北京的。
And here is one from Beijing,
山西的剧作家钟文龙，
another one from Shanxi,
湖北京剧院的席之干，
and this one here is from the Hubei Peking Opera Theater.
河南的姚金成和陈永全，
And these two are from Henan province.
福建出现了一群优秀的剧作家，
And there's an entire group of outstanding playwrights from Fujian province,
除了前面提到的王仁杰以外，还有周长富和郑怀信。
including these two others.
上海的剧作家李丽，
Also this playwright from Shanghai,
还有青年剧作家也是上海的于清风。
and another young playwright from Shanghai.
除了这些著名的剧作家以外，我们有一些每一个剧种都出现了代表性的演员。
And so, in addition to important playwrights, each of these different opera forms have also appeared excellent actors.
比如说川剧的田曼莎，
For example, this performer of Sichuan opera,
晋剧的谢涛，
this performer of Peking opera,
秦腔的李晓峰，
this performer of Qin opera,
豫剧李树建，
Shanghai style Yu opera,
黄梅戏演员韩再芬、吴琼，
and Huangmei opera performers,
越剧演员毛威涛，
and Cantonese opera actors.
赵志刚、方亚芬。
More Cantonese opera actors.
那么呢，我们还有著名的导演艺术家，
And then of course we have
河北
plenty
京
of
剧院的于孝瑜，
famous directors.
上海京剧院的马科，
And this is a director from the Shanghai Peking Opera Theater.
江苏省京剧院的石玉坤，
Another important, yes, Shanghai 吗？
江苏省。
江苏的，from Jiangsu.
那么呢，以上介绍的这些人物，其实只是所有优秀的这个艺术家里面非常少的一些名字。
And this is really just a small sampling of some of the most important new theater artists in this period.
从演员来看，中国戏剧家协会的梅花奖，专门颁发给了一些成绩卓著的表演艺术家。那么从1984年这个奖项设立以来，到今天已经有30年了。一共评选出了634朵梅花。
Since 1984, the Chinese Opera Association has had every year an important Plum Blossom Award. And in the 30 years, this award has been given to 634 different people.
那么像京剧和昆剧这样的重要剧种，出现了相当一批国宝级的重要艺术家。
And so, just in the two major artistic styles of Kun opera and Peking opera, there have been many important national level, so-called national treasure performers.
这名字很多我就不一一列出来。
And so I can't name all of the names.
那么从剧目来看，我们举一个数字，就是2002年，也就是朱镕基当总理的最后一年，他想在文艺上投入一笔钱，这个数字是2亿人民币。这2亿人民币用来花5年时间打造出50台优秀的舞台艺术作品。
So in 2002, when Zhu Rong was in the last year as premier, they spent a 5-year period investing about 200 million RMB to create 50 works of outstanding theater.
那么遴选的对象就是我们今天要讲的改革开放以来的这一些作品。
And some of the selected works from this period are what we'll be talking about today.
那么要选出50台经典作品的话，至少要有500台优秀作品作为基础。
And so in order to select these 50 outstanding works, there had to be 500 as a basis to choose from.
其中呢，戏曲各剧种要占3/5以上。
And of these 500, the Xiqu, or indigenous opera theater style works, were made up 3/5 of the production.
所以说，新石器30年的戏曲生产总体上是成绩可观的。
So really, we can say that from an objective standpoint, there's been a huge development in theater during this period.
那么，如果从时间的维度来看，我们很容易发现，由于受到政治、经济、政治文化环境的影响，中国的戏曲生产呢出现了3次大的这种变迁。
So if we take a look at the different time periods here, we can say that from the standpoint of political transformation and ideology, there's been 3 major periods.
我们可以看到，1980年代都是反思与批判之作。
So the works from the 1980s had a tendency to reflect and critique.
1990年代以来，出现了许多道德教化和歌功颂德的作品。
And in the 1990s, we saw the emergence of a large number of praise works and works that had specific moral lessons.
2000年以后，整理和保护非物质文化遗产成为主流。
And from the beginning of the 2000s, we've seen an emphasis on preservation, and especially with the influence of the intangible cultural heritage movement.
基本上是10年一变化。
There's been a change about every 10 years.
这里我们可以用上海京剧院的创作来作为例子。
And so we can use the works of the Shanghai Peking Opera Theater as examples to illustrate these changes.
上海京剧院这3个阶段分别有几个非常有代表性的作品。
And so there's several really representative works of each of these 3 periods.
他们都在全国获得了很高的奖项。
And all of them have received awards on the national level.
恰好这几个作品都是由一个人作为主演。
And all of these have starred the same actor.
这个人后来成为中国戏剧家协会的主席。
And this leading actor eventually became the chairperson.
他就是上长荣。
His name is Shang Changrong. He became the chairperson of the theater
四大名旦
association.
四大名旦之一尚小云的儿子。
And he's actually the son of one of the 4 great Dan actors.
并且非常有趣，这几个戏都和君臣关系有关。
And another thing that unites these different works is that they all deal with the relationship between the emperor and officials.
从这个角度很方便地看出这种变迁。
And so it's interesting to be able to see this transformation by looking at these specific works.
那么在介绍1980年代的反思与批判制作之前，我首先想提到的是两个剧。
So in order to talk about the 1980s, I first want to introduce 2 different works.
第一个是司马迁。
The first one is called 司马迁.
这是1980年初这个北京京剧院的一个作品。
This is from the early 1980s and from the Beijing Opera Theater.
他这个戏借司马迁的遭遇，控诉了文革迫害知识分子的罪行。
And so it took the historical character of Sima Qian and used his unfortunate circumstances to speak out and denounce what happened during the Cultural Revolution to intellectuals in particular.
同时为新时期知识分子重新创业而鼓劲。
And it also encouraged the endurance and continued creativity of intellectuals in the new era.
另外一个是湖北省京剧院的《许九经升官记》。
And another work is from the Hubei Provincial Peking Opera Theater, and it's called The Promotion of Xiqu Productions.
这个戏想说的是，一个正直的官员，却只能通过很扭曲的方式才能做到为民作主。
And the theme of the second work is that an upright official can only attain a position of power by taking very twisted paths.
他提出了这样一个问题：究竟是权力大还是法律大？
And so it spoke about a very important question: which is more important or larger, power or law?
那么这样的作品都非常富有反思和批判的力度。
And so all of these works have a really strong ability to reflect and also critique.
那么我们这里重点要讲的是。
But what we want to focus on here is a work called Cao Cao and Yang Xiu.
这个戏首演于1988年。
This work premiered in 1988.
那么曹操是中国历史上一个有雄才大略的人物。
And Cao Cao is another character from Chinese history, someone known for having great talent and bold vision.
东汉末年，北方军事集团的领袖。
He was the leader of the Eastern Han, the end of the Eastern Han, the northern military group.
他的儿子曹丕后来建立了三国之一的魏国。
And his son Cao Pi eventually established one of the so-called 3 kingdoms, the Wei Kingdom.
他呢也就被尊称为魏武帝。
And became known as Emperor Wei.
因为曹操是挟天子以令诸侯的。
And because Cao Cao followed the path of so-called tying up the prince and using his throat in order to command.
所以为正统的意识形态所不容。
And so he has not been approved of in the traditional political ideology.
在民间戏曲小说中，他往往会被塑造成为奸雄的形象。
And so usually in Chinese indigenous opera theater, in the folk forms, he will be portrayed as a traitor hero.
那么呢，杨修是他的谋士。
And so Yang Xiu, who's the other character in this work, is the strategist of Cao Cao.
也是曹操的第2个儿子，著名诗人曹植的好友。
And he's also a good friend of Cao Cao's other son, Cao Zhi.
历史上的确有曹操杀杨修的事情，
And so historically, Cao Cao actually killed Yang Xiu.
但是原因比较复杂。
But the reasons are pretty complex.
有一种说法是，他帮助曹植介入了曹丕的继承权之争。
And so one explanation is that Yang Xiu was helping the second son, Cao Zhi, to try to threaten the power of the first son, Cao Pi.
曹操呢，因此对他很有意见，就把他杀了。
And so for this reason, Cao Cao killed Yang Xiu.
但是这部新编的曹操与杨修，却从新的主题和新的角度书写了2个人的关系。
But this new work, Cao Cao and Yang Xiu, took a new perspective and explained the relationship between the two people in a new way.
他赋予曹操杀杨修的新的一种解释。
And so it offers a new explanation for this killing.
在这个戏中，曹操自己是人才，非常重视人才，善于罗织人才。
And so in this work, Cao Cao is himself a very talented person, someone who takes talent very seriously and is good at bringing talent around him.
杨修呢，是因为和他有共同的匡扶天下、拯救黎民的理想而走到一起的。
And so Yang Xiu became close to him because they both had similar goals of ruling the country.
所以他们并不是简单的君臣关系，有点像我们所说的同志的关系。
And so in this play, they didn't have a really clear emperor and official relationship, but instead had almost like a romantic friendship or even like a gay relationship.
当然，当然曹操呢也有自己难以克服的缺点。
你是说同志是？
不是同性
恋。那个姐挂号吗？Okay, no. So take that back. It was just the normal usage of comrades.
曹操呢有自己难以克服的缺点。
And so Cao Cao had a really important drawback to his character.
他猜疑心很重，总是担心有人要害他。
He was very suspicious and always thought that people were trying to hurt him.
杨修呢也有自己的缺点。
And of course, Yang Xiu also had his own imperfections.
他呢恃才放旷，得理不饶人。
He really placed too much emphasis on talent and did not show justice to those who, did not show justice to those who he felt were on the opposite side of the law.
2人必然会发生摩擦。
And so, of course, between these two different personalities, there was bound to be some problems.
在杨修辅佐曹操的过程中，曹操曾经3次想杀掉杨修，但每次都因为爱惜他的才华而没有下手。
And so in this story, there were 3 times that Cao Cao wanted to kill Yang Xiu, but because he appreciated Yang Xiu's talent, he did not do it.
最后一次实在是忍无可忍，终于把他杀了。
But in the end, he couldn't stand it, and he finally killed Yang Xiu.
那么这就提出了一个问题：
And so this brought about a question.
理想的君臣关系应该是怎样的？
What should be the most ideal relationship between an emperor and the officials?
权力者在多大限度的可以容忍不同的意见？
And so those with power are capable of allowing how much disagreement.
而知识分子在何种程度上可以有言论自由而无生命之语？
And what's the appropriate amount of freedom of speech for an intellectual?
这个在美国可能不是问题，而在中国却从来都是一个问题。
And maybe in the United States these are not significant problems, but in China this has always been a problem or a question.
在1980年代提出这个问题是非常有时代意义的。
And the bringing forth of this question in the 1980s was really important to that time period.
可以说是对2000多年专制历史的一次反思。
It was a time of reflecting on what you could say is 2,000 years of autocratic government.
这个戏的编剧是湖南人陈亚先。
The playwright of this work was a person from Hunan called Chen Yaxian.
他幼年丧父，
He lost his father in his youth.
由叔父带大，但叔父呢是一个教师。
And he was raised by his uncle, who was a teacher.
在1957年被打成右派。
His uncle in 1957 was said to be a rightist.
陈牙仙本人也在文革中备受冷眼。
And Chen Yaxian himself also was not respected during the Cultural Revolution period.
曹操与杨修正是这种经历的产物。
And so we could say that the play Cao Cao and Yang Xiu is a production of this personal experience.
他是想表达自己的一种悲愤与思考。
So he wants to express his own reflection and anger.
就知识分子在专制社会的命运会怎样？
And also reflect on what the fate of the intellectual is in an autocratic society.
那么这个戏排演的1988年。
And so this work was premiered in 1988.
改革开放已经进入了第10个年头。
It was already 10 years into the reform era.
开放的势力和保守的势力斗争非常激烈。
There was a great deal of debate and divide between the conservative and the progressive sides in society.
据说这个戏在内部排演的时候，就引起了有一些左派的警觉。
And so people say that when this work was in production, a lot of the leftist or more conservative parts of the government started to have issues with it.
他们向邓小平告状。
他们想什么？
邓小平。
Oh yeah. So they were concerned that it was actually speaking about Deng Xiaoping.
那么邓小平呢是喜欢言派艺术的。
But Deng Xiaoping was himself a fan of the Yan School of Art.
就是杨修的扮演者是一个言派艺术老生。
And the performer who played the role of Yang Xiu actually was performing in the Yan School, the school that Deng Xiaoping liked.
那么邓小平本人在历史上也有3落3起的经历。
And in Deng Xiaoping's own history, there were actually 3 periods in which he fell out of grace of the ruler.
他就说了一句：“我就是杨修嘛。”
And so he said, I'm just like Yang Xiu.
于是这个戏就算是通过了政治审查。
And so as a result, this performance actually went through a government censorship.
但是非常不幸，很快就发生了6四事件。
But just right after that, the Tiananmen incident of the June 4th happened.
邓小平一下子从毛泽东时代的杨修变成了自己时代的这个曹操。
And so from the perspective of this work, we could say that Deng Xiaoping went from being Yang Xiu to being Cao Cao.
这也许是历史的吊诡之处，也是我们这个戏的深刻的地方。
And so this is an uncanny or bizarre feature of history, and it's also one of the more deeper aspects of meaning of this play.
这是曹操与杨修的导演马科。
This is the director of the work.
这是2个重要的演员，上半龙和观众篇。
These are the 2 main actors.
这是剧照之一。
This is one of the performance photographs.
剧照另外2张。
Here's some more.
好，我们下面来看另外2个有代表性的剧作。
So let's take a look at 2 more representative works.
一个是贞观盛世。
So one is called The Grand Event in the Zhongguan Era.
这个戏说的是唐太宗和魏征的故事。
And this tells the story of Emperor Tang Taizong and Wei Zheng, another official.
唐太宗是中国历史上一位很开明的皇帝。
And so historically, the Emperor Tang Taizong has been seen as a very open-minded and intelligent emperor.
在他的治理之下，社会安定祥和，百姓安居乐业，出现了盛世的景象。
And so the period of his rule was a time of great happiness and prosperity and peace.
历史上称这一段时间为贞观之治。
And so the Zhenguan government is the name that's usually given to this era.
那么这成绩的取得呢，和一位著名的大臣有关。
And so the progress of this era is also related to an important official
那就是魏征。
named Wei Zheng.
魏征呢是一个谏官，就是专门给皇帝提意见的官。
And so this official had the specific position of imperial censor, which is someone who's meant to give advice to the emperor.
那么唐太宗的高明之处就在于很善于倾听臣子的意见。
And so one of the great characteristics of Emperor Taizong was that he was willing to listen to the advice of Wei Zheng,
哪怕是批评他的意见。
even if it was critical.
那么贞观盛世说的就是其中的一件事情。
And so the piece that we're talking about here, Grand Event in the Zhongzhuan Era, discusses one specific event in this relationship.
这个戏写到，随着社会的日益繁荣，神秘之风也日渐的增长。
And so in the work, it talks about how during this period of prosperity, there was a growing tendency towards extravagance.
国舅爷要强纳前朝的旧臣的女儿为妾。
And so the maternal uncle of the emperor wanted to take one of the imperial concubine, wanted to take an imperial concubine.
那么皇宫里的佳丽也是日渐的增多。
And there were more and more beauties in the palace.
在这种情况下，魏征呢就直谏唐太宗，要他以身作则，放弃享乐。
And so at this time, Wei Zheng told the emperor that he needed to take himself as a model and set a positive example.
唐太宗刚开始听不进去，要杀掉魏征。
And because Wei Zheng was saying that this meant he needed to give up some of the enjoyments of the palace, at first the emperor did not want to listen and actually wanted to kill him.
但是经过一定的思想斗争之后，他还是接受了魏征的建议。
But after reflecting on the issue, the emperor decided to accept this advice.
把一半的宫中的女性都放回家了。
And so he sent home half of the palace ladies.
那么这个戏的题目叫贞观盛世，就是说把唐太宗放宫女回家这件事，说是很了不起的一件事。
And so this piece is called Grand Event in the Zhongguan Era, and so it's presuming that this one event of the emperor being convinced to send home half of the palace beauties is an important event.
也就是说，皇帝认错，改正错误是一件很了不起的事。
And so the idea is that the emperor's ability to recognize his own faults was a very amazing feat.
其实相比之下，唐太宗做过的大事很多，这件事可以说是小事一桩。
And in fact, historically, this is just one small event in what was really a whole era of important other types of themes that could have been talked about.
那么和曹操与杨修相比啊，唐太宗貌似比曹操高明。
And so if we make a comparison, it's pretty clear that the character of the Emperor Tang Taizong is being shown as someone much more open-minded than Cao Cao in the other work.
他懂得让步，懂得虚心接受臣子的意见。
And so this is an emperor who understands how to step back and be able to allow alternate views.
那么魏征呢，似乎也比杨修聪明很多。
And of course, the character of Wei Zheng in this play is also portrayed as being smarter.
他懂得在适当的时候提出适当的意见。
And so he understands at the correct moment to give an appropriate type of advice.
而且在适当的时候懂得认错，让皇帝有台阶下。
And he also understands how to recognize his own mistakes in relation to the emperor.
所以他们之间没有发展到水火不容、势不两立的地步。
And so the two never got to a point of being able to not reconcile their differences.
但是从戏剧冲突的角度来看，这个戏就缺乏张力，人物也没有性格。
And so from the perspective of theater, this work really doesn't have many tensions and it doesn't have very interesting character development.
唐太宗和魏征就成了明君和贤臣的典范。
The two characters just become sort of models for an ideal emperor and an ideal official.
这里面都强调皇帝和臣子都要有德行。
And so really what it's emphasizing is the so-called moral practice of the emperor and the officials.
那么这和当时的这个中央政府，也就是江泽民执政时期提倡的以德治国的号召是非常吻合的。
And so if we look at the period in which this piece came about, it was just when Jiang Zemin was taking power and was.
所以啊，这个戏就拿到了戏剧界所有的重要奖项。
And so at that time, Jiang Zemin was promoting a specific idea called using morality to govern the country, and so of course this piece won all the top awards of that year.
这是历史上那个唐太宗和魏征的那个形象。
And so these are the historical images of the two people.
这是这个戏的海报。
This is the poster of the performance.
这是下一个戏我们要讲的《廉吏于成龙》。
Okay, and so this is the next work that we want to talk about.
这个戏显然是为了配合中央反腐倡廉的要求而写的。
So this piece was made to go along with the central government's promotion of advocating honesty and getting against corruption.
于成龙在历史上实有其人。
And so Yu Chenglong is another important historical figure.
他是一个清朝的四品大员，相当于现在的省部级干部。
So he's an important leader during the Qing dynasty and could be compared to like a provincial governor in the current era.
他以清廉著称，
And so he is known for being righteous. Incorruptible.
那么呢，他刚刚到福建，赴任的时候，就发现了当地的贪腐问题非常严重。
And so he found that when he got to Fujian to become the local leader there was way too much corruption going on.
为了清除地方的贪腐势力，他必须争取到驻扎在福建的康亲王的支持。
And so in order to successfully eradicate corruption, he had to get the support of one of the local leaders there.
那么这个王爷呢，喜欢喝酒，
And so that local leader was especially given to drink.
他听说于成龙酒量也不错，就要和于成龙比赛喝酒。
And he found out that Yu Chenglong was pretty good at drinking as well, so he challenged him to a drinking contest.
就是说，如果你于成龙喝酒喝赢了，我就会出面帮你。
And so he said that if Yu Chenglong was able to drink more than him, then he would be willing to help him.
那么为了争取这个王爷的支持呢，于成龙就是豁出了亡命，也要把康亲王给喝倒。
And so in order to succeed in getting the support of this local leader, he risked his life in drinking contest.
那么最后他终于把地方的贪腐势力给打败了。
And finally was able to win the contest.
而这些贪官呢，根本不相信于成龙真的有那么传说中的那么清廉。
And so he was able to fight against corruption.
就要查看他的这个底细。
But it's hard to believe that he was really this upright and honest. And so many of the local governors didn't believe that Yu Chenglong was so incorruptible, and they wanted to look into his personal affairs.
结果呢，发现他赴任时挑来的沉甸甸的箱子，原来不是金银财宝，而是各地为官时当地老百姓赠送给他的代表民意的泥土。
And so one of the plot twists is that they inspect a case that Chenglong brought when he came that was really heavy, but they found that instead of containing gold and silver as they suspected, it actually contained pieces of dirt that were given to him by the people of his former residence because they supported him so much.
那么这个故事当然是想塑造一个极端清廉的官员的形象。
And so of course the theme of this piece is to project an extremely upright, moral type of leader.
官员清廉嘛，本来是应该的，但是这个形象清廉到了常人无法想象的地步。
And of course there's nothing wrong with this type of a character, but it was portrayed in such a way that seemed unreasonable and even unbelievable.
不仅自己经常有断炊之虞，而且老母亲生病都没有钱医治。
So it got so extreme that the emperor or the local governor himself was running out of rice and fuel, and when his mother got sick, he wasn't even able to cure her.
如果一个人当一个清廉的官员，就连基本的生活都难以保障。
And so if this was really true in the Qing dynasty, that even such a high official couldn't protect his own personal health and those around him.
那么官员的贪腐将不是官员自身的道德问题，而是制度本身的问题。
In this type of situation, corruption among officials is really not an issue of personal morality, but more an issue of a total systematic failure.
而清朝的制度呢，在过去一直是被我们的官方以腐败无能而加以否定的。
And in the past, we have always thought of the Qing dynasty government as a period of extreme corruption and inability.
但是这个戏并没有把批判的重点放在腐朽的制度上，
But this work didn't put the critical emphasis on the system.
而是为了政治宣传的需要，把歌颂的对象放在了腐朽制度下的某个官员的道德上。
But instead, for the purposes of supporting the ideology and propaganda of the period, it placed the focus on the individual moral problems of those specific ruling figures.
这既不符合基本的生活逻辑，也不符合艺术逻辑。
This really doesn't fit with a basic logic of life or of art.
但是就是这个戏在获奖的道路上一路凯歌，所向披靡。
But this work, of course, was full of praises and won tons of awards.
那么这究竟是因为艺术呢，还是因为政治呢？
So is this because of the art or because of politics?
据说这个戏是当时的上海市委书记陈良宇亲自支持并关心制作的。
And so it's said that this work was actually supported by, at the time, the chairperson of the Shanghai municipality, Chen Liangyu.
但是很不幸，陈良宇在2006年因贪腐而倒台。
But in 2006, the same individual actually was charged with corruption and had to leave office.
这也许是一个讽刺吧。
Isn't this a bit ironic?
还有一个戏，我觉得值得一提，
So there's one more work that I think is worth bringing up here.
那就是上海京剧院出品的《成败萧何》。
So this was also by the Shanghai Peking Opera Theater. It's called 萧何 and 韩信.
这个戏的创作的目的和最后的效果不统一，似乎可以看出当代社会的某种分裂。
And so at the time, the inconsistencies in this work actually reflect a lot of the conflicts going on in society at the time.
那么萧何呢是汉代初年的丞相。
So this character, Xiao He, is another historical figure.
韩信呢是开国元勋大元帅。
And so is Han Xin.
那么刘邦是汉代的第一个皇帝。
So Liu Bang is the first emperor of the Han Dynasty.
刘邦呢在夺取天下之后，分封了很多有功劳的将领为王侯。
And so in the process of achieving power, Liu Bang actually had the support of a lot of important leaders.
但是他后来担心这些异姓王会威胁到刘姓的江山。
But later he was suspicious because a lot of these leaders were not surnamed Liu like he was, and he was worried that if they didn't have the same surname, they would have a negative impact on his power.
就想把这些功臣呢一个一个铲除掉。
And so he wanted to root them out one by one.
韩信首当其冲。
And so at the time, Han Xin was one of these important leaders, one of the first ones to be attacked.
那么韩信当年能够帮助刘邦打天下，建立了盖世的功勋，都是因为萧何的推荐。
And so the relationship here between Han Xin and Xiao He becomes apparent because at the time, Han Xin was able to attain such a high status because of the recommendation of Xiao He.
那么后来韩信呢被刘邦的妻子吕后所杀，也是因为萧何的陷害。
And so eventually Han Xin was murdered by the wife of Liu Bang, and this was also at the recommendation of Xiao He.
所以中国有句俗话叫做成也萧何，败也萧何。
And so there's a famous saying in China that success is because of this guy Xiao He, but also failure is because of the same person Xiao He.
京剧里面有一出非常著名的戏，叫做《萧何月下追韩信》。
So in Peking opera, there's actually a famous piece called Under the Moonlight in Search of Han Xin.
但是2004年创作的这个《成败萧何》呢，却想借这个故事表达成败岂能由萧何。
But this work, when it was redone in 2004, actually took a different perspective.
是想为历史上这个萧何的鸣冤，开脱他的罪责，开脱他陷害朋友的罪责。
And so it specifically wanted to focus on the character of Xiao He.
那么这实际上也是表达了当今很多当官的人的无奈。
And really, it was a reflection of, at the time, a lot of Chinese leaders' sense of not having really power to do anything.
这实际上是一种给权力者都做帮凶的无奈。
And so they felt a sense of inability to do anything in relationship to the higher leaders above them.
很多官员做了很多坏事，然后就说我是不得不这样做。
And so a lot of leaders did a lot of really terrible things and just said, well, I had no other option. That was just the only thing.
那么这个戏演出了之后呢，最受欢迎的角色却是韩信。
But when this work came out, the character that actually was the most loved by the audiences was not Xiao He, it was Han Xin.
韩信是一个追求自由的、重情重义的、敢于担当的大丈夫的形象。
And Han Xin was the person who was willing to stand out and be free and take on a position of power, even in a situation that might have been dangerous.
那么官方呢，当然喜欢的是萧何这样的人物。
And so the leaders, when this piece came out, liked Xiao He because Xiao He was sort of in a position of inability to do anything. And couldn't be blamed for his actions, whereas Han Xin was actually the one who was liked by the populace.
那么民间呢，却是喜欢韩信这样的人物。
And so the populace really liked Han Xin.
我觉得这个大概是当今中国社会官员和老百姓的某种 分裂状态。
And so it actually reflects something that was happening in contemporary society, which was a strong difference between everyday people's thoughts and the thoughts of the people in positions of power.
那么进入21世纪以来，
So now in the 21st century,
我介绍一下，这是陈白虾河的编剧。
so first let me just explain, this is the playwright.
那么这是演员陈少云演萧何的演员。
This is one of the actors from the piece that we were just talking about.
这是那个剧照，
And these are some photographs from that work.
这是剧照。
And here's another one.
那么进入21世纪以来呢，随着中国昆曲和京剧先后入选联合国非物质文化遗产。
And so briefly talk about the 21st century. This was a time when a lot of Chinese opera, especially kunqu and jingju, Peking opera and Kun opera, were actually incorporated into the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Project.
整理戏曲文化遗产受到了重视。
And so the China's history of opera theater actually gained a great deal of importance and respect.
在这方面也产生了一系列不可喜的成果。
And so this resulted in a lot of achievements that are worth celebrating.
这里我就不想做很详细的介绍。
So I'm not going to talk about it in detail.
那么我想要讲的一件事就是，2011年底，这个我们中国共产党呢做出了关于文化体制改革的决议。
And so what I want to focus on is something that's happened since 2011, which is that the Chinese Communist Party has promoted the idea of cultural system reform.
那么这个决议的核心的精神就是将剧团呢推向市场。
And so this resolution that was officially taken in 2011 actually emphasizes the marketization of the opera troupes and their need to go into more of a market-style production system.
这给人的感觉是历史又转了一个圈，要回到1949年以前。
And so it's almost as if history has circled back to the pre-1949 period.
如果这个政策被贯彻执行的话，必将对中国戏曲的生存和发展产生巨大影响。
If this is actually carried out, it will have an enormous impact on the development of Chinese theater.
那么未来的10年还会继续如何演变，我们需要继续观察。
What will happen in the next 10 years, we don't know. This is something we need to observe.
好，我想我就先讲这么多，其他的时间请大家有什么问题可以。
So let's leave some time for discussion now. Thank you, everyone.
So I'd like to open the floor to questions. Anyone? Questions?
I have a question. 李教授，谢谢你的这个演讲很有意思。可是从那个戏剧等国外的戏剧的看戏的角度来看，有一个问题是，那么观众是怎么看见的戏？他们是把这个戏看成一个是这个政治人物的这个话语，还是看戏？是吧？因为在外面，当然每个作品都有它的正式什么以外的意思，那个是绝对很清楚的。可是观众不一定是跟那个elite这个制作人的概念，他们是怎么看这个戏？你能把这个历史跟政治跟娱乐是怎么连在一起？
Do you want to translate your question?
Okay. So first, I thank Professor Lee's talk because it's very fascinating. But I just want to ask, so how does he explain the relationship, the way the audience, the general audience, would look at a play? Because his explanation is really from the top down, from the producers and the government. They put money into making a play, which is really a political statement, which is fine. But then from the perspective of foreign audience do not always watch these things as political plays. So how do you explain the production of this play as entertainment or as expressive culture? So it is a tough question.
这个问题非常有意思，我觉得可以，我可以从这样解释一下，就是一般来讲，我观察的结果是，一般来讲，知识分子啊会 知识分子观众会从这个戏曲观察某一些政治上的风向，但是很多普通的观众会去喜欢那些戏迷啊，会去听他的唱腔和看他的表演。
What I've observed is that usually the intellectuals among the audience will actually be very interested in the political underlying messages or meanings involved, whereas other more average audience members or audience members with different backgrounds will be interested in the singing styles, the acting quality.
那么中国的这种文艺和中国的政治生态实际上是非常有关系的。
And so there's a really strong relationship between arts and culture and the Chinese political landscape.
但是中国的这个戏曲呢，它的演出形式又是非常有视觉和听觉的这种美感的。
And of course, Chinese opera theater, indigenous theater, has a really strong visual appeal and also a really strong oral auditory appeal.
这两方面都很重要。
And these are really important parts of the art style.
我们前面介绍的这些戏，他们的一个共同点就是，都是用最好的演员、最好的舞台美术、最好的灯光效果和最好的导演艺术家来打造这些戏。
And so one of the qualities of all the works that I just talked about is they all selected the best actors, the best set designers, the best overall sort of visual effects.
所以对每一个观众来讲，从视听的这种娱乐效果上讲，都是无可挑剔的。
So from a perspective of just pure visual and auditory entertainment, it's definitely unsurpassed in quality.
但是这么一个非常好的视听效果，会掩盖一个内在的贫乏。
But really, this sort of exterior greatness in terms of the visual and the auditory effect, it hides an emptiness at the interior.
也就是掩盖了我们今天所讲的，从80年代可以反思和批判，到90年代以后只能够歌功颂德这么一个现实。
And so this lack that's covered up by the exterior entertainment is a process from the reflection and the critique of the 1980s to the 1990s and later, where it became a pure kind of praise.
从表现技术来看，这些戏能够获得各种大奖，都是名至实归的。
And so from a perspective of entertainment, there's no question that these works deserve the types of awards that they've gathered.
但是从表达的主题和思想来讲，却是节节倒退的。
But from a perspective of content, there's been a backward movement.
好，谢谢。
Give you time for one more question? Yes, please.
还有现象，就是那个一种城市，都是小剧场，那个话剧老有也很多，但是京剧也搞过。你所说的那四出戏，问题是大制作，乱费钱，为想而演出，所以小剧场的那个运动怎么样？So very briefly, there has been experimentation within with indigenous Chinese theater to smaller productions with more intimate relationship to the audience. All the pieces that are talked about are really to get awards, and the idea is that the more money you spend, the more likelihood of an award. And so I asked about this small theater movement.
这个
这是影响不大。
昆曲和京剧的确都有小剧场的实验。
So really, in Kun Theater and Beijing Opera, we see some experiments with small theater.
但是没有成气候。
But they haven't really turned into like a climate or a whole atmosphere.
这个呢，和我们中国大陆的这个戏曲的生产机制是很有关系的。
And this is really related to the production system of China's entire theater system.
就是1949年以后啊，可以说是经过10多年的这种戏曲改革的运动。
So from 1949, there was about a 10-year period of Chinese indigenous theater reform.
全国所有的戏曲从业人员都从原来的这个私人戏班呢，变成了各地政府管理之下的国有的这个戏曲工作者。
And so in that first 10 years of the PRC, all these different independent or private theater troupes ended up becoming incorporated into the state-owned theater system.
作为个体的这个戏曲演员和戏曲编剧，都是没有独立创作或者是自由组合起来进行创作的这种权利的。
And so individual actors or artists no longer have the opportunity to organize themselves and create on their own.
一切创作都必须在党的领导下，由剧团来主持。
And so what happened was that all production had to be carried out under the support of the party.
那么呢，这个戏剧呢，它本身就是一个集体性很强的艺术。
And of course, theater itself is a type of artistic production that's inherently collective.
如果没有强有力的组织，是不可能完成一个大的制作和创作的。
Without a really strong organizing system, it would be difficult to carry out a major production.
所以那个小剧场的实验无法和这个大剧院的演出相提并论。
And so it's hard for these experimental smaller theater troupes to compete with the large state-owned companies.
Okay, any more questions? Then thank you, Professor Lee, and thank you, everyone. Oh, one more?
谢谢您的演讲，是从东京过来的。90年代后期的时候，我们大学东京大学接待过一些那个中国经济院的院长，那他呢就是想推进那个中国那个时候已经经受那个经济改革，被这个女人演旦啊不，男人演旦就是被禁止的。那后来呢，就是他还就后来很多的那个地区来就是那个恢复这个男人演旦没有禁。那后来现在的这个应用是怎样的呢？就是现在恢复这个。因为就是这个公众剧，它也就是那个也开放了新的观众呢，就是有了这个恢复的过程。
Can you translate yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Very quickly, the question is about male performers of female roles. The most important people in the Republican period were those kind of performers. And then gradually restricted after the famous one died in the PRC. And then the question is, can this be revived?
Thank you.
的确，在1950年代，不仅是男旦艺术家收徒弟是被禁止的，而且所有的艺术家个人收徒弟都是被禁止的。
50年代是吧？ So in the 1950s in China, the male playing female character practice was actually outlawed, and so the actors who specialized in
have disciples.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Could still perform, but couldn't take the
Thank you. Okay, so they couldn't carry on the tradition through students.
到了80年代以后呢，有所恢复，但是男旦艺术的这个继承发展也还是一个问题。
And so it was brought back, but the whole process of how to train students still was a problem.
其实男旦艺术不用我来阐释，它其实的确有它独特的魅力和价值。
So I've actually personally tried it out, and it has its own attractiveness and value.
我也希望它能够得到进一步的继承发展。
I personally hope that it will have a great development as well.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wondering, 我想问一下，因为我对戏剧的了解不是很多，我想知道就是谁都在看戏剧，因为据我所知，我知道的是粤剧 Cantonese， 然后是我的 grandma 那一代在看，我是陪着看，但是我也看不懂，然后我也不想看，就是渐渐 disappear， 然后但是后来粤剧是因为它 in danger， 然后我会 support， 但是真的去看，我可能真的不会去看。所以我的问题就是说，到底谁在看？如果是年轻人缺少的话，我不知道国家或者是说共产党会以一个怎样的办法来推广，让它不是只存在于过去老一辈，而是年轻人会也有一个 appeal。So my question is, who is the audience? And then I just wondering, if not mainly young people watching it, who is watching it, and how the government make it appeal to the young people?
这个问题也是非常严峻的一个问题。 就是在我们常常会说是戏曲改革和后来的文化大革命导致一代甚至2代的观众断层了，出现了断层。
This is a really serious problem, and we say that actually there has been a gap in the generational audiences.
另外一方面呢，由于改革开放以后，这个新的娱乐形式大量的涌现，电影啊、电视啊，这些。
And so especially after the reform era, a lot of the young audience have disappeared, and this is due partially to the new entertainment forms that arise during that period, like film and television, etc.
那么的确呢，现在新生代的戏曲观众是比例不高的。
So the new generation of indigenous theater audiences really don't have large numbers at the moment.
那么我觉得这个补救的工作呢，需要全社会来努力。
This is going to require an effort by the entire society to resolve this problem.
我们在高等院校里面从事这个教育工作，其实就是有一个培养新观众的这么一个任务。
And so right now there's been some experiments in higher education institutions to try to promote education and appreciation for the younger generation.
我自己注意到，在我们的周围有相当多的这一种昆曲、京剧和粤剧的青年观众在形成和成长。
And so in my personal environment, I do know a lot of young people who are really excited about these theater forms.
甚至越有文化水准和越有那种审美趣味的人呢，越是喜欢看中国看戏曲、看戏剧。
And often it's people with a higher sort of cultural sophistication and appreciation for the arts that really have an appreciation for these works and tend to be the people who like these works the most today.
我本人是有一种信心，因为这个戏剧啊，特别是我们本土的戏曲，它是一种，就是说跟电影和电视完全不一样的艺术形式。
And personally, I'm very confident because theater, and especially Chinese indigenous theater, is very, very different from film or television.
它会以自身的魅力迎来越来越多的这种青年的观众。
And so its own characteristics and appeal will naturally bring in audiences, I believe.
以这个昆曲为例的话，我们在过去好像昆曲只是老年人看的，但是现在我们发现相当多的青年的观众，他们不仅在追风、追明星，而且的确就是非常懂得这项艺术。
And so if we take Kun opera as an example, it used to be true that it was really only old people who liked to watch the works. But recently we've noticed that there's a whole new generation of young people who appreciate kunqu, and they're following the stars, they have fan groups, and they also really have a strong appreciation for the art.
Okay, I think that's the last question, and thank you, Professor Lee, and thank you everyone.